Hi everyone, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we're going to make a heart necklace with a wire wrapped heart. It's going to be really pretty and lots of fun to do, and I hope you enjoy this. Let's turn you down and get to work. Okay, today what we're going to make is sort of a hybrid cross between these two necklaces. So the first thing we're going to need to do is make a wire wrapped heart, and it's going to be a medium, about halfway in between these two sizes. We're going to use a regular round tencha bead in the middle, which is what allows it to be smaller. We're also going to make the wire bridge and the two dangles, and then instead of using this plain chain like is on this one, we are going to use chain reaction, but I don't believe I'm going to put any breaks in to make this special chain. So anyway, the first thing we need to do is to make the heart. So what we need to do now is actually make the heart. And so we need to cut some pieces of wire. For the two heart main pieces, you can use 16 or 18 gauge. For the heart itself, I am using 16 gauge, and for the wrapped part at the bottom, I'm using 18. Now, as I say, you can use either. Then we have some 24 gauge. This is a little over 2.5, well, it's probably about 2.5 feet for doing the wire wrapping. The first thing you want to do is make some blinds. I've got about 7.5 inches. You probably only need about 7 for this one, but 7.5 is fine, because if you make extra, you need extra, that's great. So you need to make some marks, middle point. So it's 7.5 inches. The middle point would be 3 3/4. Then we want 2 inches of wire wrapping, so we want to go 1 inch from either side of that line and do here and here. Now the next step is to start your wire wrapping. To do your wire wrapping, you want to take your piece of 24 gauge and find the mark, the upper mark, do 3 loops here around your upper mark. Now I marked this one but not the smaller bar, because the smaller bar, your wraps may not cover your marks, because this is going to be a 3/3 pattern, but they will be covered by this, because the whole bar from here to here is going to be covered with wrapping. So then you'll find approximately the middle of your little bar here. Looks like we need to go this way just a hair. There we go. And we're going to start our wrapping. So hold this one with this wire, and then pull this around both strands 3 times. Now if it's not tight, just push it down with your thumbnail to get it tightened up. Okay, now spread these wires a little bit, come around to the back, and you want 3 on just the long wire. Push them in tight. Now when you've got those done, come back around to the back, and then you come back and do 3 across both. Be careful you don't overlap your original wires so that you don't get a kink in your wire. Okay, now we're at the back again, and we want 1, 2, 3 on only the back wire, or the longer one, however you wish to look at it. Now we want both again. 1, 2, and 3. Push them in tight. Now just the long one. 1, 2, and 3. As you can see, we're starting to form our 3/3 pattern with the 3 going across to the back, and then just 3 across both. Now we're going to go back to our pattern again, and we need both wires again. 1, 2, 3. Now these are, you can push this out when you need to because it's going to get in your way. 1, 2, 3, tight, and then the back, and go to the front. 1, 2, 3. Again, just the big one. 1, 2, 3. Push them down if they're a little loose. Now we're going over both again. 1, 2, 3. To the back and over just the long one. 1, 2, and 3. Both again. 1, 2, 3. Just the one. 1, 2, 3. As you can see, we're just about at the middle. And we're past the middle. And to keep going, we're going to go across the both again. 3 to the back with only the one bar. 1, 2, and 3. Both. Just the back again. Both. Tighten. Both. To the just the long one. Both of them. Both again. Push them down. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's see where we are. Oh, looky there. We're right at the mark. So now we can cut the extra wire off. On both sides. And now take your, make sure those are tucked. All right. Now we need to start forming our loops and our heart. First thing we want to do is, well, get rid of this excess wire. And then we want to get our small size of bell making pliers. And we want to take the bigger side and make a loop. As you can see, that's going to hit right there where the wire wrap starts. And I made it a little bit long, so we're going to trim that little teeny bit off right there. Just a smidge. Okay, pin that back into place. Now for the other side. Now I think this one's going to be too long. It looked like it was longer than the other side. Just a teeny bit. So let's do a sort of guesstimate of where we need it taken off. And since we just need a little bit off, we'll just take that and try and remember to always put your finger around your wire before you clip it so that your wire doesn't go flying all over the place. And there we have the 2 loops. And now we're going to start forming the heart itself. Let's put these sort of aside, these little bits out. Okay, to form the triangle, we need to have our wire mandrels. We need the triangular one and the round one. And we need to know approximately where the middle of our wire wraps is. The easiest way to do this is to count the ones that go over both bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 7 is the middle, so we want the gap between the first 7 and the second 7. So that'd be right here. Now take your triangular mandrel, find that spot. Always double check because you want to make sure you're in the right spot. If you're in the wrong spot, then you will have to start over because this will not rebend very easily. Okay, so we've got this bent over the triangle. Now we've got the triangular part made. You can bend the wire back down because it's going to warp out a little bit and go into weird ways. Let's see, there we go. Okay, now that we've got this triangular piece done, let's get our bench block out and our nylon hammer. And let's give this some wax to get it pretty well situated here. Both sides. Not only will this harden it, but it will help the wire wraps stay in place. And there we go. The next part will be forming the triangular part itself. So we will need to switch to the round mandrel. Okay, now we have to decide how big this is going to be. And to help me do that, I took the tension bead I'm going to use and the spacers, and I sort of guesstimated where we're going to want it to be by putting it on this little piece of wire. So we don't need this much at the bottom because we are not going to use this loop, but we are going to need a loop at the top because that's going to be hanging it to the heart. So we're going to need it to be about right in here. So we'll take our round mandrel, put I think I'll use the second one, and we're going to wrap it halfway around. halfway because we don't want it to be an entire circle. We just want it to be a partial circle. So then we do the same with the other side. We're figuring out approximately where we started with this one. Let's get that out of the way. Okay, so my turn should start about here, I believe. And then halfway around. Okay. As you can see, we have the basic shape of the heart. Now we just have to finger. And yes, you can use your fingers to finish it up. Now, is it going to be about right? I think so. But I got this one out of shape, so let's get it back into shape some. Back on here. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to roll our loops at the top, but this is quite a bit too big, so we're going to cut some off. Don't cut everything you think you might need off because we may not have made it big enough, so we want to make sure that we have enough. So now we're going to roll the loops with the small side of your small bell making pliers now. Okay. Both sides. Slide it off. Now let's see where we're sitting here. Okay. I think one side's going to need trimmed a little more. Just got to decide which side. Unless we want it spread a little more. I'm thinking it's this back side, so we want to take off just a hair's breadth. So just go in, clip off just a little, and roll it again. Come on, baby. Okay. Push her down and back into place. And our heart's now done. Okay, now that we've finished the heart, just sort of get it back into shape. We'll want to take our wrench block again and our nylon hammer and give it some bumps to stay in so it'll be hardened. Okay, and she's looking good. Oh, I got a little bit of Sharpie there. We'll have to wipe the wash. Get that rubbed off. Anyway. Inch block away now. And our mandrels. And our next step will be to put this on a regular wire. Okay, I've got a ball head eye pin. I like a 3-inch because it gives me plenty of time to room to work with. We're going to cut this off of the wire I put it on for measuring purposes. I got a little bit of a bend in there so the bead won't come off. So we'll have to take that off. Okay. Now we'll put these things onto the, I'm not going to use this bead. I have a, let's see if I can find it. Yes. I have a really pretty little bead cap there that we're going to put over the top of this bead. Then we'll put on the tinsha. There's the hole. And another bead cap. As you can see, that should fit in there good, even with my putting wire wraps on here. So now we'll do our wire wrap by putting it over, flip it over this direction. Whoop! Didn't mean to do that. And put it back on and just wrap it by hand. And then cut the excess wire off. Be careful when you're cutting the extra wire off, because you might cut the loop if you're not careful. I did that the other day. It was very heartbreaking. Okay. Now, actually, that will sit over there. Okay. So now that we have that on, the next step is to put it on the heart. The next step is to put this dangle onto the heart. Now you have two choices here. You can put it directly onto one of the loops that we made, and it will hang right from it, or you can use a jump ring. Now my jump ring, I've got little jump rings, and I don't think I want to use a jump ring. So all you need to do is decide which side you're going to use as the front. I think this is going to be it. Open up your loop just a hair's breadth and thread on your beads. Then tighten it back up. Okay. Now we have the tinsha bead in the middle of the heart. The next step will be choosing the beads to go in the wire wrap and doing it across the bottom, the wire bridge, and doing that. Okay, I've pulled out this little pile of beads here from Cactus in Bloom, and I believe this one was last year's Tucson Sunset, if I remember right. And we're going to make a wire wrapped bridge across the bottom between the two loops, and then we're going to put two little dangles down them as well. And I think the dangles are going to be this little blue heart, some spacers out of my stash, this little orange bead, and this little clear one. Oop. Let's see, I would have swore I had another little. Anyway, so then we're also going to, excuse me, use some of this chain. This is extra of the same type of chain reaction that we're going to use around the neck, which is the number 3, which is sort of a topaz brown, which I used in this bottom bead, and it's in the darker part of the tinsha. So we'll set that aside right now, because that's going to be up the top. This is part of the dangle, as is this. So we won't need those right yet. The first thing we need to do is wire wrap the bottom portion. Okay, we have about 6 inches now of 22 gauge, and I have opened up this side a little bit so it's easier to wire wrap. Just take this here and hold this right here while you wrap around a couple of times. I think 3 is about the perfect amount. Come on, baby, through this last time. Now you want to close that back up and get it pretty tight because we're going to be sliding this wire down here. And pull this on a little bit tighter. Okay, now let's string our beads. I have chosen to put this little tiny, I believe it's a mother of pearl on first, a spacer, a sort of off green blue check bead, this pretty little oh, I like this shape of bead, but I don't know what it's called, but it's the orangey color. This little blue crystal rondelle, lotus spacer. I like these beads, they're really cool looking. I'm going to try something. Let's see what this looks like with this on the pearl like this. It's sort of like that. So I'm going to get another one of those. Okay, so we'll put this one on then. The lotus. Let's see which is next. Ah, yes, the little blue one. Orange. The bigger green. And the little guy here. Okay, now we have to form this around the base like this. We want that pearl in the middle and bring it back up here. Let's check and see what we think. Is this going to be too big? Get over here. No, I think it'll be all right. So then we have to wire wrap this into here. Because this is going to be more difficult because of we can't really open this loop because it will try to slide right off. So we're just going to do it in place. Wrap that. Come on, baby. If you need to get your pliers to do this, go right ahead. It's because it's going to get a little stiff right in here. And again, we want about 3 wraps to hold it in place. Okay, now that we have that done, we'll need to clip off our excess wire. And tuck those wires down. Now we want these wires to go down towards the base because if we're going to put a dangle in here, we need to have them, the dangle have room to go here as well. And there's this portion. Okay, the next thing we need to do is figure out how we want to make the dangles. Now I've already put the beads I decided to use on one of the head pins. And so we can put the other beads on their head pin. Got a little crystal, tiny spacer, a blue heart, another spacer, and a little orangey bead. And then we'll put those, take some chain reaction. We're going to decide sort of where we want those dangles to end up at. I was thinking I might want them higher, but the more I look at it, I think a little lower would be better. So let's see, we need about maybe 2 links of the chain reaction. So we'll cut that off. 1, 2 for one side and 2 for the other. All these little bits of wire here. Okay, then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the loop, the wrapped loops on these. Over, let it roll down, and then wrap. You can do this with your pliers if it's a little stiffer, or with your fingers if you prefer it that way. And then clip off the excess and tuck it in. There's one of the beaded parts of the dangles. This needs to be a little straightened. Okay. Then we're going to take some little oval jump rings. I prefer the oval ones. Open those up. The small ones will fit on this chain reaction pieces, but the bigger ones will not, because the little holes in the chain reaction is quite small. Then we'll hook this one on here. And on the outside of the ring. And there's one dangle in place. Okay. We'll put the other one together. Do the loop, spin it. Come on, baby, stay where I want you. And now, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and cut. Baby, cut. She's not quite cut all the way, it feels like. Just pretty dangly for not cut. And it looks like I did something bad. So just to show you what I did, when I was cutting it, I got the upper loop rather than where the bottom one is at. Don't know if you can see that, if it'll focus. but I cut it on the twisted loop rather than where I need it to cut. So we're going to have to cut it loose and start over. Gotten a new head pin. Now we'll start this back, put this back together again. I think that was the first time I've ever cut that the wire up above where I was trying to trim it before. But of course, since we were on screen, that would be the time to do it. Now let's spin, get the round nose, wrap it around, let it fall down here, and wrap. This time we'll be a little more careful, I hope. Here we go. And then tuck. Okay, now we'll get the jump rings and put it on the chain. Now if you wanted, you could wire wrap this directly in the chain because this is probably a small enough, the head pin's wire was probably small enough, but I did not. Okay. Now to put it onto the loop. There, the pendant itself is done. Now we need to put it on to the chain. Okay, the last step is to put the necklace onto the chain reaction. We are using the number 3 topaz brown. And we can do this one of two ways. We can either just put the jump ring over the chain itself, or we can put it on a bell. In order to put it on a bell, we're going to have to split the middle of the chain reaction, put a few beads in for it to sit on for the bell to go through, and then put it back together, which I think is what we're going to do. The first thing we need to do is take it off of this ring. And because I want the sides to be even, I am going to cut off this last bead. We'll put that aside. Okay, here's the pretty chain reaction. But we're going to put the necklace piece onto the bail. And in order to do that, I've got a large oval jump ring. This one is, I believe, I'm not sure if this is a 6. I think it is. I'm going to go through both rings. That will hold our heart together in one piece, through the bell, and then tighten it up. So now we're going to make a wire bridge to put through the bell and hang the 2 pieces of chain reaction from. So of course the first thing we need to do is make a loop on one side. Fall and twist. I like to do 3 to 4 wraps. 2 and 3. Trim and tuck. Now that we've got that done, I'm going to use these beads I have here. We're going to put in the daisy spacer first. This little pink crinkly sparkly bead, which I believe is acrylic. A bead cap, this little brown bead. Come on, baby, go on. Another bead cap. These 2 little white crystal type rondelles. These little white ones are actually going to be where the bell sits at, over the top of these. Red and daisy spacer. There's the bridge. Oh, I forgot something. We cannot put these ones on over on this side until the veil is on, because it won't go over those other beads, so it has to sit on these white ones. So then we will put these back on now that we've put the veil on. Okay, as you can see, there's the pendant is sitting right over the top of those 2 white beads. Now we'll make a loop on this side, and we've got to make sure that we have it going the same direction. So it's right here, bend, over, and make our loop. Now this can be a little tricky with the pendant in place already, so you have to be careful that you don't snag anything as you're getting it together here. Okay, now we'll trim off the extra wire. Almost got the daisy spacer. Okay, so let's get the other wire. And as you can see, I had plenty of extra wire there. Okay, and now we have the bridge made to hook the chain reaction into. Okay, now let's hook the chain reaction onto the bridge. To do that, we're going to use some little oval jump rings. Open them with a twisting motion. Go through one side of the bridge and then one piece of the chain reaction. Close it back up. Oops. But don't lose your chain reaction. And then closed. Make sure we got that tight. Okay, there's one side. Now we need to put the other piece of chain on the other side. We want the smaller down here with the bigger amount to go to the back of your neck. Now get this piece. On the bridge. Shakes. On the piece of chain reaction. And then tighten her up. Now we have the pendant. And you know, I'm going to bend this up a little bit. I don't like it to be quite so straight, so we're going to make a bow in that to even that out. Okay, now to do the final thing, which is to hook in the magnetic clasp. We're using this magnetic clasp, and we're going to do some oval jump rings again. Open those up. Hook them to the chain reaction, onto the clasp, and close her up. Now for the other side, and it's already got its jump ring. It wants to hold it already. Open. Put it on the chain reaction and in the clasp. Oop, come on. Magnet, let go of my pliers. And twister closed. And there we have it. She's finished. We'll put her on a bust in just a second, and I'll show you the final product. Thanks. Okay, after giving it some thought, I decided I did want to put a little break into my chain reaction. So I got the beads that would mimic our dangles out and made a little wire piece. I've cut the wire about, the chain reaction in half right here. This is where we're going to put it, as it is over here. And then I have to make the second dangle and put it in place. So we're going to do a little wire wrapped loop. I like 3 wraps at least. Or 4, but 3 is good when you're making something like this. You don't want to have a ton of extra wire in the way. Cut off the excess and tuck the wire. Make sure it's the way you want it. Let's put on our beads. I've decided, like I say, to match the bottom as much as possible. So we have a little white one, one of the spacers, one of the orange. It's a very pale orange, but it's very pretty. The heart. Spacer. Again, the orange. Spacer. And white. A little rondelle. Oop. Thankfully I didn't drop it on the floor. I'm known for doing that. Okay, we want to make sure that our loop goes the same way. This is more wire than I need, but I would rather have too much wire than not enough. I've been known to cut them apart if I don't like them. So 1, 2, 3 full wraps, and then we'll cut the excess loose. Be careful not to get anything else. And tuck that tail. Okay. Let's see if it's about right. Yep, that's about correct. Now we'll make sure our heart is going in the proper direction, and we get our breaks. Get our oval jump rings. I've already got these open. Come on, baby. Put it through your chain reactions loop. Again, these are very tiny loops. It's one of the reasons you want the small one, but you also want the small one here because it's rather unobtrusive. And it's not going to be showing great big and huge in the middle of your chain. Make sure your heart's, like I say, up, going the proper direction. And close up your jump ring. Oop. Come on, baby. Oop, my jump ring's a little bit out of whack. Now for the second. I'm putting my component on first so that I don't twist my wire, my chain reaction up as we put it on. And there we go. It is again finished. But now it has a little bit of matching up here to down here on the dangles. Hope you enjoyed this, and I will put it on a bust for you. Okay, now that we've finished our necklace, this is what it looks like. Get a little closer so you can see the pendant good. Oh, focus, come on, baby. And then the whole of the necklace. I hope you enjoyed making this, and I hope to see you again soon, ladies.